start giving a general description about my PhD topic in Eduworks, and most of the things Raquel has described, because we will be doing very similar stuff when she will be like focusing more on polarization and 2008 crisis. I will be focusing more on looking at the causes and factors which are leading skill mismatch in the labor market. And so I'm supposed to do evaluation, a very detailed evaluation of skills occupation mismatch measurement, the different methodological issues involved in the measurement. Then once we are done with the measurement, then I will look at the factors, the determinants which are leading to the skill mismatch in the labor market. And the data set I'm supposed to use is called jobs data set, which is a combination of European labor force survey and European structure of earning survey, I guess. And because I just have one sample data set till now, I've just got from Nacho. And here the main thing is job is the unit of analysis instead of individual. So this is the job level approach what Raquel has just explained. And this is I'm going to do for my first paper of my thesis. I think I will start with one country, which is Spain. Then I will move forward with the cross-country analysis in the next paper. And the methodology I'm going to use is the job level approach, where job is the unit of analysis, which is a combination of occupation and industry. And then I will measure the skill mismatch for each job. And in the literature, there are three main methods people are talking about in the literature. One is worker self-assessment approach, where you ask the worker that what is your required level of education for this particular job and what is the actual level of education. Then you sort of compare the two and you get the mismatch. And another one is job analysis approach, where for each occupation you have a given level of skill set. Then you also, if you have actual level of education, then you compare. And another one is the realized matching approach, which is kind of statistical method where you look at the modal level of education for each job, then you compare. So these are the methods we have in the literature, but mainly I will use job analysis approach and realized matching approach, because the kind of data I'm having, that I don't have the subjective questions to do the worker self-assessment approach. So far what I have done in these 3 months, I have read some literature, and there are like plenty of literatures. They are talking about skill mismatch and the very similar thing what I'm supposed to do, looking at the determinants of skill mismatch. There are papers like the first one is Allen and Bryce. They have estimated very similar thing. They have looked at the impact of learning environment on skill mismatch, and they have taken a selected sample from graduate labor market, Dutch graduate labor market. And for the Falter, he has also looked at very similar things, causes and consequences of skills mismatch, and he has used adult literacy and life skill survey data. There is also some reports, one of which is Council of the European Union report 2013. They have estimated a Probit model where they have looked at vertical mismatch mainly, which I'm going to look at. And they have looked at several demographic and socioeconomic characteristics. They have done and they have control for other things also. But so far in the literature, they have used individual level data set. I mean, similar analysis has not been done with job level data set, which I hope will be a valuable addition in the literature. So the data set I have already talked about. I have a sample data set which is for the period 1995 to 2007. So I have like 13 years of the data set, and I have tried calculating mismatch using realized matching and job analysis approach. So I'm going to present one finding. This is just a preliminary analysis, and I have presented like the figure from job analysis approach and the figures from realized matching approach, and they are similar in terms of over skilling. If you look at the over skilling figure, which is the red one, across the year it is like increasing. The trend is increasing for both the approach. But if you look at no mismatch, which is like perfect match, there is no mismatch, then for realized matching approach it's huge. I don't know why, but it's huge. But the good thing is for the percentage of overskilling, they are quite similar. So I can like sort of compare both the approaches. The next thing I'm going to do, I have wage quintile, the jobs for 5 quintiles. So for each quintile, I'm going to look at the mismatch, percentage of mismatch for each quintile. Using both the approaches, then I will see that in which quintile the percentage of overskilling or underskilling is more, and in which quintile it is less. So that's what I'm doing now. I haven't done yet. And after that, I will try some regression analysis, taking all the years. I will try first some pooled OLS. Then, because I have sort of panel data, because if you take job as the unit, it's a panel because I have different period. So maybe I will try some job fixed effect or something like that, but I don't know yet. That's it. Thank you.
Questions? Okay.
One of my problems with time series is that most of them are descriptive. So, can you one day go beyond descriptive analysis of time series?
Yeah, that's what my plan is. I mean,
Which would, in my view, it would require that you would have similar tables like this for a number of countries, and then have country level variables that, where you can ensures that you can make some hypotheses.
Yeah, definitely. Like when I will go further, I will do some regression analysis. There I plan to control for some country level data, some country level characteristics, like maybe unemployment rate and all. I don't know, because actually I don't have the idea what kind of, I have only one sample data set which I got from Nacho, and he was using this data set for his paper, and the variables I have what he was using. So once I'm there in Eurofound, maybe I will get to know what are the variables I have, what are the variables I can use, and accordingly I will think about. But I plan to use.
The idea of Sudipa, I think, is to try to look at the verification and mismatch from a different perspective than only the supply side of individuals, only to try to find some structural trends that have to do with that. And by having many countries, even at this level that is a bit too way or strange for an economist, to try to combine this the time perspective with the perspective taking into account the institutional difference in Europe, probably combining panel data with multi-level analysis, as Steve has rightly said. He can use probably several different levels of analysis, taking into account some factors that has an effect at the level of the country, like unemployment rate and so. Maybe other factors has an effect at a different level, depending on the country. For example, unionization and another factor. Probably the trade has an impact at, I don't know, if a sectoral level or if a country level or so. And this is the idea is to try to see what happens with different level, profiting from taking advantage of the time perspective, combined with the availability of the data for different countries. In the case of Sudipa, Sudipa is probably going to use for the comparative work across Europe data of the European Labour Force Survey, combining with other data. In this case, he will not be using probably directly the microdata of the European Labour Force Survey because they didn't have the required level of disaggregation, but Eurostat has provided the Eurofound the thirds. So he will be probably using them when he visits Eurofound at the beginning of next year.
When you say individual data, what do you precisely mean? So what type of individual data you analyze?
No, you use job as a
Yeah, it's actually labor force survey where you have individual level data for each individual. I think 15 plus.
So what type of items are in that survey?
About your education level, occupation, industry, everything, income and all the things. Then you convert them into job level. The main data set is labor force survey.
When you convert them to job level, how does it work? I'm completely out, so maybe this is...
Yeah,
The
I know.
problem is that
Yeah,
when
it's-
you use the matrix, you pass from individual level to job level. So the European Labour Force Survey is at individual level, but then we
Convert them.
convert that individual level in job level using the matrix. So
When you
then
say job level, what does that mean?
Yeah, so
Maybe
the each
it's-
observation.
And we
Cross
cross,
job
so
is
you cross occupation and activity. That's the reason that we call
Okay.
each job level.
Basically, you aggregate the data.
It is-
Yeah.
So you have individual level data based on surveys, the labor force surveys done in all countries, and then you aggregate these individual level until a cluster that you defined before. And then you analyze the aggregate of the.
That was the method that I explained before, that is the same that we are going to use. It was just because of the time that I explained.
And you rely on some taxonomies for defining the jobs.
The combination,
The combination between
Of sector-
sector and activity.
activity at 2-digit level. And in order to order the jobs, usually, not only them, but also author, manning, and so, try to order the jobs according to the wage in a certain moment of time using very detailed earning survey. For example, in the case of Europe, the structure earning surveys. And they are only using the order really. And the order, having so much detail matrix of job, doesn't change very much. And it's for the case being tested, like for example in the United States or Switzerland that have very good data.
Martin.
So we do this also, I mean, we've done this in different studies, how migrants respond to shortages across cells of jobs and industries, and a similar approach to yours. But here I'm a bit puzzled, maybe there is a simple answer to this, but if you study jobs and want to say something about jobs, then they are essentially endogenous to many processes, right? The definition of who is in that occupation, another definition, but who is in that occupation or job is a function of many variables which will be in your analysis, like the degree of unionization. Okay, fine, but people move across jobs, and that changes. Okay, and this changes as a response to many other variables. So how do you plan to deal with it? That's just a question. How do you plan to deal with those things? Have you are there studies which deal with those the endogeneity of everything in this? Because I mean, if you have an individual as a unit of analysis, you can somehow better grasp the processes and these variables at the individual level. And the individual is an exogenously defined unit. Of course, individuals disappear and appear. Fine, okay, there are many things so, but here it's more fluid, and I'm actually not.
Yeah, if your analysis is at job level, and if you have for different period of time same jobs, then I think you can use job fixed effect. Then the job level heterogeneity will be captured. I think so. I think that's what you asked for.
Maybe not, but maybe I'm just puzzled, so maybe we just discuss afterwards.
Final question.
How do you deal with that jobs are changing and that we now have this with this job approach? You assume that there are clear and defined jobs and occupations with boundaries and that you can use this. But how do you deal with the fact that this is changing and that jobs are becoming more constantly evolving roles instead of very static jobs?
But that was ILO too. We assume that ILO provide us the good ISCO to measure jobs, and they change every 3-4 years how jobs are, and they introduce new categories about jobs, and then we use that as a measure.
You now assume that one whole stream of literature doesn't, do you account for like, look, this is also there, but we choose to go this way, or how do you deal with that? Because I'm also dealing with, I'm taking the other approach, but.
I think we are using the ISCO occupation classification, which are, I think, for every year they're the same.
Well, two things here. One thing is that the analysis, in spite of you are using the job level analysis, the jobs are weighted by the employee populations in each job. So you are not really using another database different from the individual one. The only thing that you are using here is to look in at the variables or to try to put more emphasis on the variables that are at the job level. So in this respect, you could do exactly the same thing and obtain the same results using individual level data, but controlling at the job level. So, but of course, one thing that is being done now is to try to look at the factors that have an effect of the change of employment in some jobs, trying to combine that with information outside that, for example, to try to see how technical change affected the number of people in the jobs, how to see, for example, labor supply, not only considering people in jobs, but also how labor force affected the people in the jobs. I don't know if this has to do with the last Martin. And the other thing regarding the change of jobs, well, in principle, when there have been a lot of new jobs are usually coded according to the existing classification, but when we have a change in the a substantial change in the number of new jobs that appear, usually there is a change in the ISCOs or nicer classification as well.
So one important question, if these classification systems make sense in this world, but I think this is the point. But this is the point where we have to stop with this discussion and move on to another one. It's getting exciting, right?